When most words start with an alif, it's not actually the alif we're pronouncing, it's really the hamza. Yeah? So in this word, asadun, this a sound is coming from the hamza, not the alif. In ustadun, this u sound is coming from the hamza, not the alif. And in imanun, the e sound is coming from the hamza, not the alif. So why is the alif even there? Well, you think of the hamza as being too small to be by itself, so it just uses the alif as a chair. And generally it does use the alif as a chair. But in these examples you can see how the hamza can also use a waw as a chair or a ya as a chair. So in these examples you can see an alif with a hamza, yeah? Words that begin with an alif, but they also have a hamza. Some words, they can begin with an alif, but they won't have a hamza, yeah? So something like ismun, which means a name. So what's the difference between an alif without a hamza and an alif with a hamza? So standalone, it doesn't make any difference, yeah? So imanun, ismun. You can see how they're both making that e sound, whether it's the hamza producing the e sound or the alif producing the e sound. However, the difference comes when there's a word behind. So in Arabic, words behind, they like to jump onto the word in front. Yeah? So if there's a word behind, an alif with a hamza, the word behind will pronounce this sound. There's a word behind an alif without a hamza, the word will skip the alif completely and go straight on to the next letter. Let me do an example, yeah? So, wa is a word. It's just a letter, but it means a word. So we'll stick with wa, yeah? So, when we're pronouncing this, we say wa asadun, yeah? Wa asadun, where I pronounce this hamza. Wa ustadun, where I pronounce the hamza. Wa imanun, where I pronounce the hamza. However, when I come to this word where there's no hamza on the alif, I don't say wa ismun. I skip the alif completely and I say wasmun. So this is a really common example of this kind of pronouncing coming into play is with definite articles. So let's do an example. So we have al-baytu al-kabiru. So you'll notice that they both have this definite article, and they don't have vowels on them. Usually we don't really write the vowels on them, specifically when there's an alif and a lam being used to make something definite. So anyway, we have an alif and a lam in this example. So rather than saying al-baytu al-kabiru, what we do is you'll notice that this alif and this alif, they're hamza-less alifs, right? So what did we say? We said when there's a word behind a hamza-less alif, we don't pronounce the alif, we go straight on to the next letter. So here, in this alif, are we pronouncing this alif or not? Is there a word behind? No. So we pronounce this alif. On this word, are we pronouncing the alif? Is there a word behind? Yes. So are we pronouncing this alif? No. We jump straight onto the lam. Yeah? So it's actually al-baytul kabiru. We can take this a step further and say that at the end of words, when you come to the end of a word or an idea or a phrase or a sentence, the way you signify that you've come to the end is by putting a sukoon on the end, yeah? So you can see, rather than pronouncing it al-baytu al-kabiru, when we take it a step further, we can say al-baytul kabiru. We can take it a step even further by saying al-baytul kabir. I'm going to let that sink in for a moment, and then I'm going to try one more example, but it's a bit of a curveball. So So we're saying al-baytul kabir. Let's get rid of kabir and let's add صغير. Okay, so now we said we are going to pronounce this alif because there's no word behind it. So how do we jump? We say al-baytu. This ta, does it jump to the alif? No, because we said that hamzaless alifs aren't pronounced. So this ta should jump to the lam, right? But why does this ta not jump to the lam? Because sad is a sun letter. What do we do with sun letters? We don't pronounce the lam in front of them. So really what we do is we say al-baytu saghiru or al-baytu saghir.